Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani with America's Mayor Live. Live from Florida, where it is cold. In this part of Florida, this is real south. We have palm trees here. But up in northern Florida, which is also has some palm trees and alligators, it's snowing. So take your global warming and stick it up your. Enough with the con job, huh? You're killing people with the money you're taking away from them for like curing malaria. How about that? Or making the adjustments and adaptations that would be necessary if there really is global warming, which I'm not sure there is. Because I don't believe you at all now anymore, at all. I think the people that have been in charge of this government for quite some time are a bunch of crooks. Look at the 51 spies who lied. Those are the people who ran your intelligence service and told you there were weapons of mass destruction. They're the ones who took you through Benghazi. They're the ones who took you through 12 red lines that Prince, trained as a communist Obama, didn't do anything about. They're the ones who told Obama that ISIS was the JV. And then Trump inherited a war he had to fix, which he did like that. And he did it in a way that when Mr. Xi Jinping thinks about Trump, you know what he remembers? He remembers sitting next to him when he got up from dinner and went and bombed the shit out of Syria. So he doesn't want that to happen to him in Beijing. And he knew that Biden would never be able to do that. And he's worried that Trump might. Trump made a move today. You're probably not going to know the background of it. I'm going to tell you about it. But before we do that, I'm going to explain my view of TikTok. Okay. So the president of the United States, when he was president, when he was number 45, wanted to ban TikTok. In fact, he began the movement to ban TikTok, which culminated in legislation led by the Republicans, eventually bipartisan, to ban TikTok. TikTok has fought it right down to the wire. They could have sold TikTok, ByteDance. So let me explain the situation in case you don't know the whole thing. So TikTok is, of course, I guess, one of the most prolific apps that we have, right, Ted? I mean, there are more people on it, or
Over
if there
100.
aren't more people on it, it's probably the most popular among kids.
Yes, and really a lot of age groups now. Over 170 million Americans are
It's
on TikTok.
more than Facebook. Is that no?
It's
Yes.
well, no, that's hard to say. I'll research the numbers. Facebook may still have a larger number because it's been around longer. A lot of people have accounts; they're not as active now.
Well,
So we'll get the real.
not the subscription numbers, but is there a way of knowing the use numbers per
Yes,
month? Like,
yes, and I'm willing to.
okay,
I can't say for
so
sure.
whatever. TikTok
Yeah.
is one of, if not the most prolific ones, uh, and it's particularly popular among young people. And there are allegations. You know, that it does very, very destructive things to children, and that in some ways it's a extension of red Chinese brainwashing of American children and American public, um, and all of that. I think it's quite true. Believe it or not, all of that may be protected by the First Amendment, or may not be. That's a question the court will have to decide. But it is a close question. Remember, we got used to the Biden desecration of the First Amendment and the Biden denial of free speech. Free speech tolerates a great deal. It even tolerates invocations to violence and lying, and because the interpretation of what's a lie can very often be in the eye of the beholder, which is what turns it all around, right? So you're saying I'm protecting you against misinformation, but you're defining the truth as misinformation. And therefore, you're practicing free speech. Now, we should have recognized it. And our press, who are fairly intelligent, educated people, should have recognized it, except they're a bunch of scumbags. They're a bunch of either Marxist or Democrat scumbags. And they sold you out. This is a complete playing out, as if it, weren't fiction, of Orwell's 1984. So I say on my podcast, based on enormous amount of information, making my comment quite reasonable and supportable. If not the absolute truth, there might be another side to it, but I have a reasonable basis for what I'm saying, that the vaccine doesn't work. I get taken off TikTok. Boom. But I wasn't on TikTok. I get taken off YouTube with 1.7 million. It cost me a great deal of money. They still haven't quite put me back. I was right. They were wrong. Now, I wasn't right because I'm a genius. I was right because my partner is Dr. Maria. She's on top of this from day one. And together, we researched it. And even before the vaccine came out, it was a dangerous vaccine because it wasn't tested. There's a reason we have the test. But in any event, that's what you can do with this word game. This is what Marxists are trained to do. This is what, believe it or not, Prince Obama was trained to do as a young man. I rejected that many years ago. I thought that was right-wing conspiracy theory. Turned out to be dead straight on truth. So now we're at a stage where we have to rectify all this, and we got to face up to it. And I think that the president of the United States has made remarkable progress in 2 days. When he said we're going to be liberated, I kind of feel like we are kind of liberated already. We're certainly headed that way. So I'm going to begin with something that really, truly disgusts me, because I love religion. I don't wear it on my sleeve, and I'm not by any means the most practicing religious person that ever lived, by any means. I don't pretend to be. And I'm certainly not a moral example to anyone, except I try to improve on being a sinner, because that's what Jesus said we have to do. And that's what Jesus said he loves sinners. Well, I don't sin for him to love me, but I do ask for forgiveness for him to love me. And I found what the Episcopalian bishop of Washington, D.C., if that's what she is, or is she the bishop of the National Cathedral? I found what she did horrifying. For many, many reasons. Horrifying because of her far left position, which tells me she's an avowed Marxist, which means she can't be a Christian. I'm sorry, Bishop, but you know you're a Marxist. I can pick you guys out in a second. I spent a good deal of my life picking you bastards out. You're a damn Marxist in charge of a church. That sermon yesterday was a disgrace to you, to your church. I wouldn't go to the National Cathedral again, no matter who you bury. Sorry. You're on the other side. I could see that. I could look at your face and tell you were on the other side. Where do you come off lecturing the president of the United States, selected by the American people, based on the very issues you were lecturing on and lying about? This isn't about people who want to work and people who want to come here, give us your tired, your poor. Yeah, we did that. We went through that with Ellis Island. And in 60 years, we took in 12 million people. Under the president you supported, the major criminal that you supported in the White House, the traitor that you supported in the White House, the guy who took $31 million from Red China, who you supported in the White House. Under that guy, 16 million to 18 million came in 3.5 years. More criminals than ever before. We're not talking about the bullshit you're talking about. You know that. That's an old Marxist trick. Wow. If the Episcopalian Church doesn't throw her out, the Episcopalian Church should be thrown out. After all, it was founded by an adulterer. Come on, Marion Edgar Buddy, or whatever the hell your name is. Let's listen to your desecration of your being whatever the hell you are, a minister.
To have mercy upon the people in our country
Alien
who are scared now.
ministers are, but I do know you're
There are
founded by
gay, lesbian, and transgender children in. I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens.
We can stop her now. She's
Have the
going to lose the audience if
documentation.
people keep looking at her.
But the vast majority of immigrants
Yeah,
are
I mean,
criminals.
I hope no kids are looking. I kind of cut that off because I was afraid that people would cut off when they saw her face. But in any event, that is what is wrong with establishment Protestant churches today. I don't mean evangelical. I mean the mainline, let's put LGBTQT above Jesus Christ. How about we take a shot at something that the bishop must have stopped doing a long time ago, and that is reading the Bible. So the basis of the Protestant Reformation, and I'm sorry if I was a little over generalized about the Episcopalians. I'm sure there were a lot of good Episcopalians, particularly high Anglicans, whose church is very much like the Roman Catholic Church. And I shouldn't be bragging too much because we got a pope that sounds an awful lot like a communist. But in any event, he is the unfortunate product of the misguided liberation theology. I became enormously suspicious of the establishment churches when they didn't protest being closed down for Easter based on the dictates of the socialist governors that we have in states like New York, who was found to have violated the First Amendment. Cuomo was, or your Witless, or Newscomb, or any of them. A number of them where there were conclusions by courts that they violated freedom of religion. But in any event, nobody stood up. All these bums did not stand up. Now, this moron bishop thinks she knows more than the Bible. Now, Protestant Reformation, which I think was a very, very positive thing, brought Christianity back to the Bible, where the Catholic Church had moved away from it, more interested in its Greek and Roman philosophy, which, had value. But the real basis of our religion is the Bible. So let's look at the real basis for our religion, Bishop. Maybe you should join another one. You probably have trouble, like Supreme Court Justice Jackson, defining what a woman is. Let me tell you how the Word of God defines what a woman is. And maybe, given that definition, you want to join something else. This is chapter 1 of Genesis. You can't get too much closer to the beginning. It is verse 25. God made the wild animals of the earth of every kind, and the cattle of every kind, and everything that creeps upon the ground of every kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, let us make humankind in our image. I love animals. You better love human beings more. Big distinction here, right? They creep on the ground. Now, then God said, let us make humankind in our image. The animals are not in his image. You are. That's where the humanities came from, the study of the humanities, which they don't do anymore. Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. That's how important you are. That's how important your humanity is. It comes from God, not from these dictators, not from Karl Marx. So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Not a third gender, not a fourth gender, not a 45th gender, or a 57th gender. Bishop, join another religion that believes in 57 genders, that isn't able to define male and female. God created them male and female. You don't have to believe that, but then go somewhere else and stop posing as a phony bishop. God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the air and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. Don't stop water to save people in LA because you want to save the smell fish, Governor Longhair, Governor Creephead. I don't know, could it be clearer? You don't have to believe it, but then go somewhere else. You think she believes that? I don't think she believes that. Well, that's consumer fraud. She's posing as a Christian bishop. This is the first chapter. She's got trouble with the first chapter. You really should join some other religion. There's a little more here about the creation of us. This is the second chapter. This is the 18th verse. Then Lord God said, it's not good that the man should be alone. I will make him a helper as a partner. Imagine describing a woman as a helper? Whoa. Got to reject this religion, huh? If you're a feminist, right? With the capital F. If you're feminist with a small f, you don't have to. So out of the ground, the Lord God formed every animal of the field and every bird of the air, and he brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called every living creature, that was its name. The man gave names to all cattle and to the birds of the air and every animal of the field. But for the man, there was found not a helper as his partner. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up its place with flesh. And the rib that the Lord God had taken from the man, he made into a woman and brought her to the man. And the man said, "This at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one shall be called woman, for out of man this one was taken. Therefore a man leaves his father and his mother and clings to his wife, and they become one flesh. And the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed." That's the second chapter of the book of Genesis, the basis of our religion. Okay, poetic, but deep truths there. Now, you don't have to belong to this religion. You don't have to believe that. Then you should go somewhere else, and you shouldn't be wearing all that stuff, looking like you're, the Bishop of Canterbury or the Bishop of New York or whatever the hell you are. And where do you come off lecturing the President of the United States, selected by the people of the United States? We didn't select you. I don't know if Christians would select you. You got to tell me more about these theories that you have about transgender people. Doesn't say anything here about transgender people. It says man and woman. It doesn't mean they can't be aberrations. You can try and make them the norm. Thank God most Americans don't buy this. Thank God most Americans reject Marxism, which wants to destroy the unitary family created by Genesis 1 and 2. Because that's what the story is really about. The story is about the very conclusion. Therefore, a man leaves his father and mother and clings to his wife, and they become one flesh. I did a lot of marriage ceremonies, maybe 50, quoted that all the time. I said it's the first human contract. It probably predates the Bible. A man and a woman come together and decide that they can be happier, safer, more productive, more effective together than alone. And at the base of that is love. Perfect? Not going to work out 100%? It's got to be the goal. Even if we fail, we're human, we fail. I mean, sometimes people tell lies. That doesn't mean it's right to tell lies, right? So you stop yourself, you ask for forgiveness, and then you try not to tell lies. And if you do things that are worse, the same thing. It's a very, very particular application of our whole principle in our constitutional republic of a more perfect union. We don't claim to be perfect. We wouldn't have to be more perfect if we were perfect. But we claim to correct the wrongdoing we can recognize and acknowledge. No other country does that. So how about respecting us and loving us instead of teaching our children to hate us? Well, you're doing that because you're Marxists. I don't know about you, Bud or Buddy or whatever the hell your name is, but you sure as hell don't seem to believe this part. So maybe there's another religion for you. I don't know. But I don't know if you should be paid all that money from the Episcopal Church, as far as I knew, believed in the Bible, man and woman. Bible doesn't talk about man, woman, and transgender, or man, woman, and somebody who wants to be a cat. Kind of makes clear there's a big distinction between humans and animals, huh? And now we put litter boxes in schools. Well, that's because the teachers union was founded by communists. They want to deteriorate us. They want to destroy us. They want to destroy our moral fiber any way they can. And they have succeeded with a lot of us, Bishop. And when idiots like you say the stuff that you said, not recognizing the people that are being murdered and the people that are being raped and the 500,000 children that we can't find and the human trafficking go on and the women who are being degraded, where are you with them? What about a little feeling for them, Bishop? What about a little feeling for saving lives? What about a little respect for the man who was selected by more of our people than anyone else as our president? Well, you're smarter than all of them? You can't even read the first 2 chapters of Genesis. We'll be back very shortly.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
This is Rudy Giuliani. I'm back with America's Mayor Live. I just want to tell you that Buddy, the bishop, who doesn't seem to have read Genesis, came out against Trump in 2020 politically. So what is this, a bishop or a hack politician? Hack politician. Render to Caesar's that which is Caesar's, and to God that which is God, from the religion you used to be part of. Huh? You don't follow. Why don't they take away their tax deduction of that church?
I would like to see that.
Well,
Political activists.
Of course it is. And she supported she supported Biden in 2020. Imagine if we take a good look, she supported him again in 2024.
Right.
What was he doing there?
That's his big AI startup or
Well, do you want to show
infrastructure
that and then we'll put Allison on, or should we put Allison on first?
maybe we
Allison
should.
win.
Let's play. So this is President Trump making his big announcement. We'll play the announcement and then bring Allison in.
Good. And she can listen to it also.
CEOs, and in the case of Larry Ellison, it's well beyond technology. He's sort of CEO of everything. He's an amazing man, an amazing business person. But to announce the largest AI infrastructure project by far in history, and it's all taking place right here in America. As you know, there's great competition for AI and other things, and they're coming in at the highest level. We're joined by Oracle Executive Chairman Larry Ellison, SoftBank CEO, my friend Masa Yoshi-san, and CEO of OpenAI, and I would say the by far the leading expert based on everything I read, Sam Altman. So that's great that you're coming in together. That's a massive group of talent and money. Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States, and very, very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating
I do believe this is a much more important announcement than it even seems to be, even though $500 billion is real money, because it has a lot to do with our really life and death struggle with China. But I'd like to ask Allison Wynn, who is a current tech investor, a billionaire from tech investment, so she knows what she's talking about. And she is like I am, a former Democrat who has been enlightened about freedom and liberty. And Allison, can you explain to us the significance of AI in not just what happened today, but in our the requirement that we have to be number one in AI, or we're not going to exist as a world leader anymore.
Exactly. We are on the brink of the golden age of AI, and China is very focused. As we talked about, Mayor, it's a top-down organization in China, and so they can make decisions very quickly, and they've decided to get into AI. They're all in AI, and in a matter of just a year, they are almost catching up and maybe even surpassing us with their LLM, with Alibaba, and the performance is on pace with OpenAI. And so, we invented all this stuff here, right? Just like a lot of our, technology, personal computing, internet, all invented in the United States. And then we allow other countries to copy and surpass us. And it's great that our wonderful president, Donald J. Trump, is stopping this and really putting people together, bringing some of the top technologists and business people together to create this new company, Stargate, so that way we can be competitive with China. We need a strong leader like Donald J. Trump to coalesce people, because before, under Biden and Harris and Obama, we invented the personal computer, we invented the internet and all this great technology, even like drilling of oil and gas. And now, the Middle East is importing all the oil and gas into our country when we invented this technology to drill through rock, and we're sitting on the largest repository of oil and gas from my home state of Texas. And yet the Middle East is surpassing us. And it just warms my heart that we are putting America first. We are investing in ourselves, in our own entrepreneurs. We invented this. Let's keep it home.
I just finished last night reading Gordon Chang's book about the high tech competition between the United States and China. And he says exactly what you say. You know, our greatness is that we're diverse. So we have tremendous creativity. And at that level, you can't match us. But then when it becomes pressure time, it has to get done. And it's got to get done quickly. Top down works better. And what Gordon suggests is that the president, which he's doing, does what Kennedy did with going into space or we did with the atomic bomb. The government comes in, doesn't have to control it, but it organizes it and it gets it the energy and the focus that it needs. And this, I think, is a great step in that direction.
What you're describing, Mayor, like what you did during 9/11, is called leadership, right? And so these are soft skills where, you know, it's sometimes like very difficult to talk about, especially in this globalist economy. People just want to make money, but we have to think about American values, American first, create a coalition of Americans. What are our values? We want to lead with innovation. And like what you said, our culture, our risk-taking culture and our distributed nature, we have the federal government, but in the States, we don't have these, you know, huge controls or big government like China. And so that allows people to be individualistic, be creative, take risk. But when it comes to scale and create these large, massive projects, China is better at it because, like you said, it's top down. And it's great that we finally have a leader now after many years struggling, and also to have the coalition where we have this vision and we can put people together, because we have all the pieces here, Mayor, in our country. We were just lacking the leadership.
Listen, how important is Qualcomm to our efforts?
So Qualcomm is very important, and we need to develop another foundry in the United States. So Qualcomm right now, they make these, it's a foundry. There's like 3 foundries in the world. TSMC, that's the Taiwan semiconductor company. There's Intel and there's Qualcomm. So Qualcomm makes the smaller chips that you find in a cell phone. The AI chips that you see with generative AI and training the data, that is only really made by NVIDIA. So they have the AI chips. The copycat one is made by Huawei. And so the way that China is creating these LLMs with Alibaba, they're infringing on the patents of NVIDIA. And NVIDIA is actually a software company, not to get too geeky.
It's an American company.
It is an American company, but they designed the chipset, but it's actually manufactured in Taiwan by TSMC. So NVIDIA is just the designer. And so now the American government, which I think we need to accelerate this, is to create our own foundry, our own factory to print the chipset in the TSMC plant in Arizona. So NVIDIA just designs it. Yes, we're starting to. So the chip czar was Kamala Harris. She never really visited Arizona, just like she didn't really visit the border. We need to have leadership that is detail oriented, that understands the chip making, that understands the border. She just said that she's the chip czar. She said she's the border czar, but she never really
know what it is.
So she, under her leadership, the chips were designed for like toasters or refrigerators. And so those are IoT chipsets. So we need, hopefully, with David Sachs as the AI czar, and he comes from technology, and I heard great things about it. I actually recently met him at Mar-a-Lago. He's on it. He's the new AI crypto czar, and I'm sure him and his staff.
David Sachs.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So David Sachs, I met very shortly, but from what I know, about him and my friends who have received investment. Actually, I co-invest with him in a few funds. He is very diligent and detail oriented. I am sure that he can manage the operation, the design, and the implementation of the factories in Arizona to make sure that we have the capacity to build the generative AI chips, not just dumb chips for, say, like a toaster oven or for a refrigerator, right? Those, they're all chips, but you have to have different types of chipsets.
Now, does the fact that Taiwan has a major role in this, does that increase the desire of China to take over Taiwan?
Absolutely. Taiwan has basically the monopoly on making generative AI chips through the foundry TSMC. So remember, NVIDIA is an American company, but they only design it. The actual company that actually produces it is TSMC. They don't have any patents. They don't have any unique technology. What they have is called process engineering, and just thousands and thousands of really smart PhDs that don't sleep. And somehow they're able to make these AI chipsets stable and produce them in large quantity. The United States, because like what we had mentioned, we had invented AI, we had invented the semiconductor company, but under all these liberal leaders, we outsourced it to China and Taiwan. And so we lost the ability to create really smart chipsets, or we gave it away to ASML, which is a lithography company, and ARM, which was spun out of Intel, and now it's based in the UK.
Now, that really increases the stakes in our protecting Taiwan.
Yes, we absolutely need to protect Taiwan because right now they're the only one with the ability to scale and produce AI chips. Until we're able to make it ourselves in Arizona, we've spent more than $100 billion to build these factories. Our great friend Congressman Abe Hamadeh, a Republican, is now in charge of that district. So he is very good, he's very detail oriented. David Sachs is the new AI czar. There's a new sheriff in town. So hopefully, and I'm very hopeful that we will ramp up and have the ability to make these Gen AI chipsets in-house in the United States. But in the meantime, Taiwan's the only one that's able to make it at scale.
Well, we better make sure it stays an independent, free country that's allied with us. And we can do that if we set our mind to it. I mean, the one thing that bumbling, dumbling, stupid Biden said that I agree with, and then he had to take it back because all the communists around him went crazy, was that we would go to war to protect Taiwan. If Xi Jinping knows that, he's not going to invade Taiwan. He's not ready to take on the United States. Maybe 5 years from now, if we're not on Trump time in developing all this. But we're ahead of him right now, and we have to remain that way. But we're ahead of him by a little bit. And that requires a lot of leadership. But once you go on Trump time, Allison, all bets are off. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So
it was
much,
very,
Mayor.
very enlightening. Very enlightening. And Allison just described to you the new war we're in. I know we think of wars as tanks and airplanes and bombs and missiles even, and missile defense. That's part of it. But the new war is about technology. And I recommend to you Gordon Chang's very, very short, but enormously insightful book about high tech. His current book is fabulous too, and it's about Xi Jinping's plan to take over America. I get both of them. I have Kindle. So I got my own library right here. Look, carry it around with me. This is not an advertisement. This is just a necessary thing. I put it in this nice binder. Isn't that nice? And then I have a little. Do you know what got me into doing Kindle? Jimmy Finkelstein. We'll have Jimmy on, but Jimmy bought me a gift when I was running for president called Kindle. I gave it back to him. I said, I can't accept gifts. I gave back all my Christmas gifts the year I ran for president. I did. This is why I go crazy, because they're prosecuting me. I swear to God, I've never knowingly committed a crime in my entire life. I'm obsessively compulsive about it. So after the election was over, he came to me and he said, you're now a free man. Will you take the damn thing and I'll show you how to use it? So I took it and I started reading the instructions. I couldn't figure it out. You know when he taught it to me? On the way to the Republican convention in 2008, I had finished preparing my keynote speech, but I had to change completely over the weekend because McCain selected the mayor
Of Wasilla, Alaska.
And my original keynote speech, which had been prepared for 2 weeks with the approval of the McCain campaign and the Republican National Committee and all the bureaucrat bullshit orders and whatever, was going to be very interesting. I was going to do like a job interview and compare him and the completely incompetent, totally unprepared and communist trained Prince Obama. All of a sudden, when I looked on the speech and he selected her, she had less experience than Obama had. And I said, oh my God, they're going to use this against him. I called up the campaign. We got to change this. They agreed. So I spent the whole weekend changing it, stayed up all night. And I was exhausted when I was on a plane. And he said, let's get your mind off it. Let's take out the Kindle. I'll show you how to use it. I said, I will not use a Kindle because I can't read a book without underlining. He said, well, you can underline in Kindle with your finger. And then I started doing it. I became completely addicted because here's what I could do. After I was finished with the book, even better than an underlined book, which often I would pull off a shelf because I'd remember where the important thing was. Now I had a little thing, 4 pages or 5 pages of all the most important parts of the book that I wanted to remember. And if I wanted to go back and find it, I could just go right there. And that's how I started to learn about an iPad, and I didn't even know what those were. So then when we get to 2015 and 16, and I'm helping Trump write speeches, and I'm using my iPad, he said, you know how to use one of those things? You're an old man like me. That's how it, this is the key to learning. This is what kids do. They got to be interested. I learned, I hated math until my father told me the only way you're going to be able to figure out batting averages is if you understand math. My father was great at math. He could add columns of figures in his head. He said, you want to figure out Mickey Mantle's batting average? Yeah, let me show you how. I said, wow, I got to learn that. I always believe that the key to learning and a great teacher figures out what motivates you. And then why did you always do much better in subjects you were interested in than ones that you weren't? And then the key for a teacher is to make you interested. Well, we're off the point, but it's still very important because one of the things that has to be reestablished, and he's got enough time to do everything we've talked about, including stay ahead of China and put us way ahead. What I worry about is education. Education is hard to change completely. And of course, every day that you don't change it, you're losing a generation. You're not getting back. You can try, but it's playing catch up. And I think the changes are going to get made, but the battle against it's going to be unbelievable. I mean, this teachers union, not the teachers themselves, but I want to stop that. We do this thing like, well, it really isn't all the FBI agents, it really isn't all the teachers. Well, then quit. Quit. If you see your organization putting shackles on Peter Navarro, quit. All walk out. And then little scumbag Ray won't be able to do that. Or if you see your organization run by communists who don't give a goddamn about kids, or damn, I'm sorry, then why are you paying those communists to ruin our children, to brainwash them, to try to convince them to mutilate themselves? What the hell's wrong with you? Quit. Yeah, I know you got to feed your family, and I had to feed my family too, or at least myself. It didn't stop me from standing up for things that were critical to what I believe in. And if you're a teacher, if the well-being of children isn't critical to you, I mean, go become something else. I don't know what, but become something else. Get out of teaching if children don't come first. Not the union, not their ridiculous protection of sexual predators, who they fight for like they're actually functioning human beings. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order...
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please. This is Rudy Giuliani, and we're back with America's Mayor Live, and it's really live tonight because I'm all upset. In a tactical way and in an important way, because we got so much to do and we can't get distracted. And boy, I tell you, we got a leader who doesn't get distracted, and I do mean Trump time is different. You saw that. Sometimes good and sometimes not so good, but it's true. Illegal aliens. We can now call them illegal aliens. Well, we always could because the law calls them that. And if I can't use the words in the laws passed by the Congress of the United States, I don't know whose words I'm going to use. Some character from 1984? In the statute books People who come into this country without permission are illegal aliens, not migrants, not undocumented, not pussy wussy. They're illegal aliens, and they should be thrown out so that people can come in legally and demonstrate to us that they are worthy of being in this country and hoping to carry on the enormous burden of being an American. I mean, you got to be willing to sacrifice your life for liberty if you want to be an American. That's what we've done for centuries. That's who we are. Well, the left-wing traders kept saying for a long time that, the illegal aliens don't commit crimes anymore, less than Americans. Do you know how untrue that is? And do you know that used to be true? And I know that better than they do because I used to be in charge of immigration. Way back when we had the Mario boat lift and when we had, the Mario boat lift and the Haitian, invasion. And I had to stop it. But I had a president and an administration. That means I didn't stop it. I had an army to help stop it. I didn't have a traitor like Biden and the communists that surrounded him. And the liars for the longest time. I mean, Mayorkas, how he wasn't prosecuted for perjury, I don't get it. But in any event, Ted and I figured out, I don't know how long ago it was, Ted, a year ago? It was before Laken Riley was murdered, that they were hiding the number of illegal alien crimes that were growing exponentially, not just in New York, actually even more elsewhere sometimes. But the Laken Riley situation, and the president pointed this out. Did he do it in the inaugural address, or did he do it in the address he gave he gave like a 32-minute inaugural address, and then he did a 33-minute address to his supporters. I don't remember the one in which he said, looking right at Laken Riley's mother, I think, your daughter has helped so many people. And what he meant was she broke it open. Until her, they were lying like hell. In fact, in her case, they originally lied. Her animal murderer, not human. He doesn't fit in that category of Genesis that I described before as human. He's in the animal category. He went to Athens, Georgia to look for a girl to rape or girls to rape. Who knows who he did before? He was only there a few days. But when it happened, he was originally described as someone from Athens, Georgia. He had been in Athens, Georgia for 5 days. They didn't say he was an illegal alien from Venezuela with a criminal record as long as my damn arm. Because they didn't want to show that Biden was lying, that Harris was lying, that Mayorkas never said a word without lying. Now, a little article in the Post. This is a big story as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to read it to you. This is by Jenny Tare and Steve Janoski. I want to give him credit for it. But it's only 1, 2, 3, and one short paragraph, 4 paragraphs. That big. See the underlining right there? Okay. Slain Vermont BP agent is ID'd. The Vermont Border Patrol agent murdered. Did you hear about this? When he stopped a migrant near the northern border has been identified as David C. Mallon. The Post has learned. Thank you, Post. An agency veteran of nearly a decade, Mallon, 44, had been assigned to the Newport, Vermont Border Patrol Station when he was gunned down on Interstate 91 near Coventry at about 3:15 p.m. Monday, according to federal law enforcement sources. One of Malin's attackers was killed and a second was injured. The wounded man is in federal custody, thank God, according to sources. Both of them were illegal migrants who don't commit crimes, except they kill Border Patrol agents. And you don't find out about it. I'm sorry. Not many people find out about a story that's on page, whatever the heck it is, at the bottom. The death of a federal law enforcement agent deserves a lot more attention than this. And you deserve to have the danger of these people explained to you more than the press does, because the press is getting you killed. The good thing is, he started it already. See this picture here? I want to show you this picture here. You didn't see this under Biden. If this were Biden, like even a couple of weeks ago, these people would be coming in. These people are being sent back to Mexico. They're being turned around and turned in the other direction. I don't actually know how we're doing it, but we're doing it. Boy, that Holman is a miracle worker. And this guy means business right here, huh? Instead of going after Peter Navarro, they're going after. Now, I don't know if these guys here are coming in for work or they're coming in to rape your daughter. But they don't know either. They're not going to find out. They were just going to let him in. So let's not take a risk. We got too many people that want to rape your daughter. Who knows? Millions. You see this here little group that we're turning around? There's a whole group that comes in we never get to see. This is the first group now you got to focus on. Turn them around. And if they get through, put them in jail. Catch and release, which is what the communists do, and the people who hate America, and the people who want to see you and your children killed, becomes catch and return or detain until you return. Got it? That's what I did. Built detention facilities. Left wing went nuts. America became safe. I don't give a shit about the left wing. I don't even know what it is. They don't know what they are. But probably among the most stupid people I've ever dealt with. I know they got degrees, and I used to be somewhat impressed by the degrees until I found out what they teach at those places. Someone said to me the other day, they were embarrassed they didn't have a college degree. I said, geez, I don't know, depending on where you had the degree, let's just rip it up. Hillsdale College, maybe, huh? Liberty, maybe. Huh? Ivy League. You're a trained communist unless you fought against it. And if you did, then you're very well educated because you've got that independent spirit of an American, which is why they can never conquer us. But there they go. Back to Mexico. Sorry, guys. How about you apply? We get a chance to check your record. We find out if you really want to work, you really know how to do something. And we also make sure that one of you isn't sneaking in to sell drugs. Could be. A lot of you do. So apparently they've been doing a lot of raids up in Boston. I mean, it's too bad that I'm here in Palm Beach because we go cover the ones when they come to New York. Of course, the New York police can't cooperate. But every New York City policeman wants to cooperate. And I really do think that Adams could just violate the New York law because it's unconstitutional. You don't have to follow an unconstitutional law. The city council and the state legislature can't tell you not to cooperate with federal law enforcement. I mean, geez, they're like Rico Enterprises doing that. Well, they are actually, but I once said when I was a kid, they should make me U.S. attorney in Albany. I could put the entire legislature in prison. I was exaggerating. It would have been only half. Not because the other ones are okay. Probably couldn't catch them. Can't catch everybody. Although I did have an investigation of the county highway commissioners, Republican and Democrat, appointed in crooked New York. We offered bribes to all of them. We caught 49. We missed one because he said it was too little money. We had only offered I don't remember if it was 10,000 or 20,000. It took every bit of persuasive ability I had to get the FBI to double the money for him. I was sure he would take it. He did, and we put him in prison. And they were about half Republicans and half Democrats. So virtue and vice is not a monopoly of either party. It just happens that the Democrat Party is going through a really bad period right now, which is why they should take advantage of it. First of all, they should get rid of the damn name. It's a horrible name. It's associated with slavery more than anything else. More than all the names they change and all the statues they take down. The institution of the Democrat Party has had more to do with slavery than any in this country. You're taking my Jefferson statues down and you're keeping that damn name? We got to refer to the Washington Redskins as the Guardians? That's the name of a prophylactic. Get rid of the name. It's an odious name. It's a name associated from its beginning and for 80 years with slavery. And then with all the vestiges of slavery, the Ku Klux Klan, segregation, lynchings, including of my Italian Americans. We're the second most lynched group in America, in the South. We were greasy looking. Screw you, greasy looking. President Trump is taking a disaster tour. Remember how long it used to take Biden to go? It took a year, right? Which one was he? Oh, the one we went to. It took a year for him to go there. But even like North Carolina, a couple weeks, and what good would it do if he went there? He didn't even remember he was there. Yeah, Palestine, right? Took him a year to go there. That was the place we went, and they let little Petey wait for an hour and a half to talk to me. I knew something about emergency, and little Petey couldn't even run to South Bend, which is about this big. Little Petey was one hell of a joke, wasn't he? Wonderful.
He might be running for governor. Is he not?
No, I just don't want him to.
Oh yeah, he might run
Governor
for
of what?
Michigan. He
He doesn't come from Michigan. He was in Indiana. He was a mayor in Indiana.
He moved to Michigan a year ago. I think he realized winning statewide in Indiana.
So he wants
Wouldn't be easy.
to replace Whitlis.
So yes, he's thinking about running.
Last time I saw her, she was trying to get picked up in a bar with Kamala Harris.
Well, after the show, we'll catch you up on some interesting Michigan political news, but we'll save it for after the show.
So the
The
president,
national audience may not.
I believe tomorrow, he's going to North Carolina and California. Boy, he doesn't waste any time, huh? It's amazing to have a president, isn't it? He actually cares about us. Even California, boy, I think 2 people in California voted for him. Really nice to have a president. Makes me, I wake up in the morning, I feel so much better now. Wow. I used to worry for my country every day I woke up. Even after he got elected, guys worried somehow they'd do something. Sorry. You know, when you've been exposed to what I've been exposed to, there's nothing that you don't anticipate. So they were already lining up lawsuits against his executive orders. Good. Let them do that. They have 18 state attorneys general who have lined up with lawsuits. Do I have to ask if they're all liberal, left-wing, progressive, Marxist Democrats? Of course not. So they're going to challenge birthright citizenship, and they're going to challenge his getting rid of federal workers. How the hell do you run the place if you can't get rid of workers and put in your own? They want spies. They don't want workers. They want they don't come to work. I was in Washington, a couple of times, twice to be persecuted by the D.C. District Court. Boy, I'm so glad he pardoned all those people. That court is sadistic. The judges are sadistic. If they're not investigated, then we've abandoned justice in this country. Those J6 people require an investigation of the sadistic judges who held them without bail and put them in conditions of confinement that were as bad as or worse than the Japanese who were interned during the Second World War. I know some of those judges. Those are sadistic people. Also acted illegally, unconstitutionally, made up the law, and took advantage of the fact that they have a District of Columbia jury that is brainwashed, even more than New York. I mean, you can't get justice there, and it's ridiculous to claim that you do. So they're going to fight birthright citizenship, firing federal workers. They'll fight everything. And we may lose a couple, but I bet we win most of them. And the birthright citizenship, it's a much better argument than you think. Just like the pardon is. They say, well, pardon is just completely general. You can do whatever you want. Pardon has a meaning. Words have a meaning in the Constitution. So you got to go search for that meaning. The meaning is the pardon power the king had at the time of the Revolution or shortly thereafter. Pardon power that the king had did not allow pardoning for anonymous crimes. The crime had to be acknowledged. By the way, the Supreme Court has written that you have to accept a pardon. And in accepting a pardon, it is assumed that you are admitting guilt and asking for forgiveness. Well, of course they're admitting guilt. Fauci's guilty as sin. And why do they have to give him a pardon back to 2015 or 2014? So he could keep the bribes he got before COVID? What about Hunter 2014? Well, because he went to work for Burisma in March of 2014. What, you think I'm stupid? I know you better than you know it, Joe, because you are stupid. Always have been. Now you're demented. So on the first day, I think Trump did more than any president normally does in a full term. End of birthright citizenship. Remember, here's what the 14th Amendment says. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, this was passed for a specific purpose, to make certain that the emancipated slaves were citizens and weren't going to be deprived of their citizenship because they were born into slavery. Well, it wasn't passed so that illegal aliens could come in, have their children here, and make them American citizens. It would have been, I mean, if they had thought of it, they would have written something in to oppose it. But the magic words that have to be interpreted are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Is the child of an absolutely illegal alien in the United States subject to the jurisdiction of the United States? It doesn't mean you can be prosecuted in the United States. It means you fall under the laws of the United States and not some other country. For example, a diplomat or a military person visiting the United States from another country who has a child there is not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. They're subject to the jurisdiction of Italy or Argentina or Germany or someplace else. So if somebody comes in here illegally from Nicaragua just to have a baby, are they subject to the jurisdiction of the United States? Are they admitting to the laws of the United States? Depends on what subject to the jurisdiction means and meant to the people who wrote that amendment at the time of Abraham Lincoln. It's going to be a closer decision than you think. And you can't say, well, it's always been interpreted as encompassing everyone. It's never been interpreted. So sometimes, even if it's slightly incorrect, if there's like a 200-year interpretation in a certain way, this is failure of interpretation. I mean, I'm going to have to look at the briefs and think of it really carefully, but I don't think this is a foregone conclusion that this thing gets held unconstitutional. It might be narrowed. It might be narrowed to people who deliberately come in for that purpose or take advantage. Or very interesting to see. I doubt they're going to say it's just plenary. He's just born here. That's it. Then they would have to let all the diplomat kids become American citizens. So Trump has done away with DEI. Boy, that couldn't happen fast enough. But he's really done it. Boom. What he's done, all federal employees working on diversity, equity, and inclusion are placed on paid leave. Kick them out. Pay them. And then figure out, after we do away with DEI, if we need any of them for something else. And if you don't, fire them. I would think anybody working on DEI we should get rid of, because they're probably screwed up in their head, because DEI indicates a screwed up head. Equality is equality of result. So if we run a race and you come in ahead of me, we both win. That isn't even reality. It's like saying I'm a man, but I think I'm a woman. Well, I'm Rudy Giuliani, but I think I'm George Washington. It'll be a lot to straighten this out, but boy, this guy has done shock therapy. So DEI over with now. And federal employees are ordered to turn in anybody doing it now. They get fired. And by the end of the month, the Office of Personnel Management wants a written plan from all federal agencies, how they will execute a reduction in force commensurate with the no longer having a need for DEIA offices.
Gone.
Bye-bye, jerks.
By 5 p.m. Wednesday.
Bye-bye, anti-American jerks.
Love it.
Bye. Rubio immediately put out an order banning censorship in the State Department. And I said, well, okay, banning censorship. Banning the disinformation bureaus they had set up. Like they're going to define the State Department. My God, the State Department doesn't have its head screwed on straight. They're going to figure out what the truth is. The truth. You don't say the truth, and we destroy you. Rubio slammed the agencies and programs that engage in censorship, suppression, and here's the key one, and misinformation. Misinformation is a very dangerous word because the government decides what's misinformation. And the government is the most biased, prejudiced, and particularly under this president, corrupt entity that you're going to deal with. The commandant of the Coast Guard was fired. The commandant of the Coast Guard made the mistake of calling diversity, equity, and inclusion an operative imperative of protecting our shores. This was Linda Fagan, the first woman to lead any U.S. service branch. And she had what was called a long and illustrious career that crashed and burned on the statement that diversity, equity, and inclusion is an operative imperative of protecting our shores. She sure as hell didn't do much of a job of protecting our shores with all the illegals that came in. Now, the acting head of the Homeland Security Agency thanked her for her service to our nation. I don't know, we should get rid of him too. What the hell are you thanking her for? Kick her out. You know how much enlistments are down in the Coast Guard? It's almost disappearing because of that crap. I want to be a soldier or a sailor. I don't want to be a diversity, equity, and inclusion experiment. And if you want to be, you're probably not going to be much of a soldier or a sailor. Soldiers and sailors are trained, civilized, controlled killers, not social experiments. This I probably enjoyed more than anything else. I didn't know the general, what do they call him in the post here? Light Trader Milai, or Melly, or Mui, whatever the hell his name was. Mr. Decorations going down to his bottoms. He was still employed. He was gone as a head of the Joint Chief, but he was still employed. He got fired yesterday. Unfortunately, he was pardoned. I don't know if you can be pardoned for treason. I guess you can. I didn't think you could. A military tribunal can go after him? Good. Well, they took his portrait down. He's not much of a looker anyway, so I always thought he was a bit of a fat slob. That's Photoshop. It's down. That's what's there now. You know what should be done with it? Hope describes him as traitor-like. Remember when he said he'd warn China if Trump was going to invade them or do something to them? Think he was workable? I don't know. What the hell do you say that for if you're not? Why do you live with the giving up of the Bagram Air Base? You even objected to it as being against the national interest of the United States. You didn't have the balls to quit. Nazi prison guard, at least. You don't put Nazi prison guards up on the walls, right? We don't necessarily have to put them all in jail, although you probably belong there, which is why he gave you a pardon. Did you accept the pardon, admitting your guilt? That's what the Supreme Court said in the Burdick case. If you accept the pardon, you are admitting your guilt. Tokyo Rose Cheney. You know, Tokyo Rose was the Japanese, was an American who was a traitor who went to work with the Japanese and used to go on radio every night to try to demoralize our troops. She was hated as a traitor during the Second World War. Yeah, the woman who presided over an incarceration and defended it of equal or worse proportions as the Japanese internment in the Second World War. A woman who participated in fraudulent activities to depose a legitimately elected president. Yeah, I'd be like Tokyo Rose. You gave up all of your principles, and your old man went along with it. I don't know what happened to him. Maybe when he almost shot and killed that guy, he went a little crazy. What was he, Darth Vader? Maybe they were right about him. What do you think? Maybe they were right about Cheney. Maybe he was Darth Vader. He sure as hell switched on his basic principles. He, as a person that I knew and respected, how could he have supported, whether he hated Trump or not, how could he have supported Kamala and Beijing Tim? I mean, that guy is an operative of Red China. He would be able to figure that out faster than anyone else. Because his screwed up daughter is a traitor, you got to be one too? Come on, Cheney. What are you, senile? I don't know what they said. Cleaning house at, I guess, this would be at the Pentagon. They got these, I don't know who these other two generals are. Do they take them down or leave them up? I don't know. Cleaning house. They got rid of all these creeps. Also removed was someone I know, Brian Hook, who used to claim to work for Trump. Well, he and former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms was removed from the President's Export Council. Brian Hook from the Wilson Center for Scholars. More than a dozen career Justice Department officials. Only a dozen? There'll be a lot more. Gone. I got rid of more than a dozen. Assistant Attorney General George Toscas, who served in the DOJ's National Security Division for nearly 20 years, who was a key figure in the Department of Justice push for the August 2022 FBI raid on First Lady Melania Trump's bedroom at Mar-a-Lago. After it was known to all of them that the incumbent president had stolen classified documents and put them in a place that they were available to Red China. And they raided Trump. Toscas did that. He'd been fired. Out. You disgraced the department that I love, you bum. What a disgrace. 20 years. Disgraceful career. Approving a ridiculous search like that over a dispute over documents with the National Archives, which is also a left-wing, communist-controlled piece of crap. So we got rid of thousands, and they hired 1,300 new ones ready to come in. I don't know if that's the Justice Department or the administration. I think it's the administration. Sergio Gore is he's expected to hire a total of 4,000 new people right away. And he's gotten 1,300 of them. Excluded, according to this, is no allies, you love this, Ted, no allies of Republicans who have spoken out against Trump will be on the list of hires. Oh, gee, like I don't want people who hate me to work for me. Oh, that's terrible.
What a terrible
thing. I mean, you should have people that disagree with you and then be expected to get through the things they disagree with. I went through this when I was mayor and I told them to go to hell. They said, oh, you're just appointing people who agree with you. I said, well, next time when I get elected, I'll appoint people who disagree with me and I'll see if I can perform miracles. How am I supposed to create workfare with a group of left-wing liberals who condemn me as a plantation owner because I put workfare into effect? Well, I did put workfare into effect, and I got more people off welfare than any mayor in history. And I got more of them jobs than any mayor in history. And they come up and thank me now.
I was going to say, I've seen a few of them. Thank you.
The left-wing bums have long gone. They're, getting money from somebody or stealing it. But these other people went to work and they've had decent lives because I gave them the work ethic, a great gift that a lot of the left wing doesn't have. A bunch of lazy bums. When you look at unemployment, yeah, there are more people that are out of the workforce than on the unemployment rolls. That means they've given up looking for work. I go find them and tell them you're not getting your welfare if you don't work. I'll wake them up. Anyone connected to Charles Koch, Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, Liz and Dick Cheney, Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan, John Bolton, James Mattis, and Mark Esper. None of them will be hired. It's not. You don't hire your enemies. Unless you want to fail. He doesn't want to fail. And the American people don't want him to fail. Let him hire the people that he wants and then hold them accountable. The Democrats are trying to screw that up in the Senate.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah, they are.
So they can't figure out in Congress whether there should be one or two bills. Meaning, we've got to accomplish a couple of very big things, right? We got to preserve the Trump tax cuts. Otherwise, taxes go way up. And we're living through Biden time, not Trump time. We've got to be able to keep the government going, which means we have to take account of the debt already created by Biden. And there's not much we can do about that. But we got to try to get control. We got to try to get control of that. And we have to pass legislation to control our borders. Now, the debate between the House and the Senate is the following. The House, and I think the president, want to do it as one bill. Steve Scalise, who I guess is managing it for Johnson, says that there are enough Democrats that you can pick off on several of these things. If you put it all together, you'll get it passed. And you'll get the tax part, which is the hardest one, passed. The Senate says, let's do the easier ones first, which means the immigration and the debt. And then we'll do the taxes later. Now, I'm not a legislative strategist, nor can I figure out these lazy bums who take more time off. The only people who take more time off than them are teachers. I mean, they're constantly on recess when the government's closed. I mean, I remember when I was representing Trump and the government was closed, and he stayed in Washington. They were all off on vacation. Well, they closed the damn government. A bunch of lazy bums. I mean, they have some good ones, but by and large, you want a description? Lazy bums. They don't work. God forbid we have to stay there over the weekend. But they want to go home and see their constituents. So I tend to go with the House. I think they work harder. I think they're more loyal to Trump. I think they're more loyal to you and me than Thune and even Barrasso. If Barrasso were really what I thought he was, he wouldn't be hanging around with Thune that much. I couldn't hang around with Thune that much. Yeah. I think you're going to double cross him on the taxes. I think you should stick to one bill. Screw him. You're only going to have this majority for a while. Let's take advantage of it this year. Let's not screw around. Do you know that Nicaragua is one of the 20 most dangerous countries in the world for Christians? Nobody cares about Christians. Oh, I'm not counting the bishop yet until she explains to me her position on Genesis 1 and 2. But I mean real Christians. Daniel Ortega, who we have pretty much put back in power because we have communist infiltration of our government, is think about this, Bishop. He dissolved the Episcopalian diocese in Nicaragua along with 92 other Christian organizations. He and his wife is the vice president, Rosario Murillo. They forcibly closed more than 1,100 religious entities, and they've dissolved the Episcopal Diocese of Nicaragua. I didn't hear Bishop Boudboud say anything about that the other day. It's a little more important on, how sensitive you are to 57 different genders. No. What a time to be living in. What a time. I mean, I have to tell you, I watch this now every day. It gets better and better. More and more things done. Trump time, big time. All these liberals going nuts like faux Bishop Bood, a Booty or Bud. We got to get her to read Genesis 1 and 2. This thing on men and women, like they don't give you another choice. God, if this is the word of God, right? The Bible. And look, I'm a Catholic. You guys got angry at us because we didn't pay attention to the Bible enough. So I'm paying attention to the Bible, sweetheart. Now, I've read the Bible a couple of times. Even I had a history professor in the first year of college that taught ancient history. And you know what he made us do? He made us read the Bible as history. So he took the Old Testament and he pulled out, and I remember on the old it was before you had internet and all that, he had like an old mimeograph sheet. I wish I had kept it. Damn, maybe I can find it. I'm going to ask my friend Alan Plackett was in the same class with me. And it was like a blue ink. I remember, I can see it. And it had all the chapters of the Old Testament that were history. It's about a third of the Old Testament is history. Now, accurate? I don't know, history back then, even Thucydides and Herodotus, you don't know how accurate it is. But it's probably the Bible is as accurate a history as you're going to get, going back that far. Now, of course, it doesn't include the Psalms and the Proverbs, but it includes just about the entire Torah, the first 5 books. That's almost all history. And then a lot of the other books. And a lot of it, verifiable history. Some of it may be poetic and allegorical, beautifully written. And I read earlier the Genesis. I mean, that's so powerfully written. So, I don't know, maybe the Bible should be required reading for everyone. Not as a particularly religious text, although that's what you should be reading at, but actually to understand our history. This is a lot of the Bible is a lot of our history. Remember, you may not like it if you're some kind of atheist swine, but the first 10 amendments to the Constitution are known as the Bill of Rights. Our founding fathers, including Thomas Jefferson, all of whom are accused of not believing in God, like hell they didn't believe in God, made it clear that those rights came from God, not from the king, not from the colonies, not from politics, not from Joe Biden. That's why Joe Biden couldn't take them away. And that's why he should be put in jail for doing it. He doesn't have a part. He's the biggest crook of all. So let's put him in jail. I could prosecute him. I could convict him. I'm telling you. And I have got a way around the whole thing, but I'm not going to tell you, just in case they want to do it. He and a lot of them are still absolutely liable, even though they're pardoned. I'm not going to explain that, except secretly. Every single one of them if they make one mistake, could be easily prosecuted. I'm talking about the family. I'd have to think about the other slime, like the 51 spies who lied, all of whom should go to jail, particularly Leon Panetta, because you know better. And then you introduced Kamala Nitwit to be president of our country, and you're a patriot, and you put your name on a document. That's an absolute, complete lie, and you knew it was. And it probably created a fraudulent election even before your party got to cheating. A lot to fix. A lot to fix. But we're on our way to doing it. So did you notice at the inauguration, there was a Baron Boomlet? It probably comes out of the inauguration as one of the discoveries. I showed you a lot of home movies and pictures. He was like standing above it. But I think the one that did it was when they were clapping and he went like this. I mean, it was nice too. It wasn't arrogant or anything. Then he's a better politician than his father started off as. Father's a good politician now, but he didn't have some of these skills that the kid has. Going right over to the Clinton criminals. And he shakes hands with them. I think he shook hands with poor little old Biden that nobody would shake hands with except Trump. Biden was sitting there like this. Nobody was shaking his hand. He doesn't realize they don't like him. They don't know he's a crook. He thinks he fooled everybody. More than half of America knows he's a crook, and all of America knows he's a demented jackass. The Democrats can't stand him because they think he lost the election for them. And his wife is fighting back like a caged animal. First stepmother and Pelosi's daughter going to start ripping her eyes out. Wow. I mean, Pelosi, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, here's how I feel about it. Pelosi's a complete fraud. If she wouldn't get rid of him, she should have gotten rid of him 4 years ago or 3 years ago. Or the first time he went, blah, 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 blah. Or the first time she saw somebody coming and having to feed him or wiping all the stuff off. Or the first time he got lost in the gardens of the White House. That was like the first couple of days he was president. She knew that. She knew that the president of the United States was a functional, brainless idiot. Yeah, but good, it was her brainless idiot. Until he stopped being, until he became a political bird. Then, et tu, Brute? And Brutus had a lot more honor than that insider trader. I mean, got it. I mean, they're all thieves. None of them are worth anything as, honorable human beings. But it's amazing how they now hate each other. Pelosi double-crossed him because Pelosi told the truth, finally, that he's a completely degenerated human being, incapable of being president, and he's a danger to the republic. And he got more people killed than any president other than during a time of war. But Trump is going to, I told you that, North Carolina and California right away, not waiting like Dodo did. And tomorrow, we're going to see if they finally let a couple of these people, other than Marco Rubio, and I love Marco, no hit on him at all, but they're just doing that because they're a bunch of crooked senators. They would never investigate. They would never investigate Biden, and they wouldn't investigate Biden, as several Republicans told me. And there are only a couple of exceptions to this in the Senate, because he was one of theirs. You can be one of theirs, and you can steal $50 million and you can do business with our enemies. And you're one of theirs. You're a senator. So what the hell is it worth being a senator? You don't know when I know who these people are. When I look at them, please, God, let them retire quickly. One of them is gone, so it doesn't matter. McConnell. I'm going to see my father-in-law and see if he can give me a couple million more from Red China. He escaped that one. The old man, her father is one of the richest men in Red China, except he comes from Taiwan. You know what it means if you're one of the richest men in Red China and you come from Taiwan? And he took money from him, $5 million. And then McConnell changed all of his positions on China. And you want me to respect him? Mm-mm. I respect America. I respect the decent people, hardworking people, people who don't take bribes from China. Go stuff it, McConnell, and get the hell out of there. You can't even think anymore, walk or talk. So get out. Well, we're going to have more to talk about tomorrow. Look at that flag behind me waving. We're so much better off. Thank you, God, for delivering us from these enemies. America is back, land of the free and home of the brave. And all of you were brave. Stick it in there. So pray for the people of Israel. Pray for the people of Ukraine. Pray for the people of Iran. Pray for the people of China. There's a lot more turmoil there than you think, and we'll talk about that. Been doing a lot of work on China. You're going to get the benefit of that. So we'll talk to you tomorrow. There'll be plenty to catch up with. This thing is moving so fast, and you want to stay right on top of it because it's exciting. You're living through history right now. So see you tomorrow night at 7 on X and on, what's the new name?
Lindell TV.
Lindell TV. And then on X and everybody else at 8. Okay? God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,